Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the PDC Racing League. We're back with another season of racing after a one-night winter special a few weeks ago. It's whetted the appetite of the drivers who usually compete in these series, and they've been begging for us to run another one. So for the next 4 weeks, we will host 3 races a night that will comprise the new season of competition, and we're expecting it to be just as exciting as always. My name's Andy McEwen up here in the commentary box to talk you through all of the action tonight, which is already well underway. We're deep into a qualifying session here that will set the grid for the first race of the night. There will be 3 races in total, as I said, 20 minutes in duration for all of them. This is the qualifying session that sets the grid for race 1, but then beyond that, for races 2 and 3, the grid will be completely random. So some of the quick drivers could be at the front, they could be at the back, they could be in the middle, they could be, quite frankly, anywhere, and that usually is a recipe for drama and excitement. A few other changes for this season as well. We've got the new division structure, so it is essentially a 2-class system now. We have Division 1, which is, for want of a better word, pro drivers, those that are regular front runners in the PDC Racing League. This is where you find your former race winners, former champions, even in many cases. And then in Division 2, some of those who perhaps are a little less experienced, don't have the ultimate pace generally to compete for overall race wins, and indeed lots of newcomers as well entered into Division 2, and that is going to be a really fascinating part of the field to focus on at times tonight, because we've got some drivers that usually wouldn't have a huge amount to fight for, quite honestly. They will really have something worth fighting for, though, this season, because there are separate championship points and therefore separate championship prizes on offer for each of these divisions. So that is going to be really exciting to watch. Out on track at the moment, then we're watching the number 17 car. That's Freddie Hewitt racing in the Fastar Esports squad. His teammate is Michael Seal, who's right behind him. These two working together here to reasonably good effect. It's Freddie Hewitt who looks good for the pole position here, but look at how tight it is. Hewitt quickest on a 1 minute 44.501, just half a tenth quicker than Rhys Saunders, who is second quickest. Rhys is racing the year 1 machine, number 91, and Rhys Saunders almost on for pole position, but just not quite matching Freddie Hewitt. In third place, then, we have yes, that's Hunt in third place, isn't it? Yes, just 78 1,000ths of a second away from the pole position time, and it is going to stay that tight, I think, throughout the remaining 30 seconds or so of this qualifying session. So as the cars continue on their way, will we see any late improvements? Well, yes, we will, because it is now the number 99 car that goes to the top of the times. Ian Hunt then with the fastest time of the session, and looks to be Daniel Hunt, excuse me. Daniel Hunt is running number 99. That's useful, because I was it's one of the few drivers I didn't have a number for. So number 99, Daniel Hunt, is the one who is setting the pace now, and that's a really impressive late improvement there in the session for Daniel. A 1 minute 44.35. And now I have my full timing screen up. I can tell you exactly what the rest of the grid looks like right now. So it is Hunt quickest, second quickest is Freddie Hewitt, third place is Rhys Saunders, and fourth position then is where we find Chris Knox with Michael Seal rounding out the top 5 for the time being. Not long left now then in the session. In fact, the checkered flag is about to come out. Chris Knox we're following on screen now, car number 1. Fourth quickest in this qualifying session for the time being. Michael Seal 5th, then Dan Blake, then Constantine Juris is in 7th place, Carl Jacquelet 8th, Kyle Power 9th, and Cesare Rizzo rounding out the top 10. And the Constantine Juris there just came through to finish his session, checkered flag being waved now to a number of the drivers out there as they come around towards the end of the qualifying session. Are we going to see a change right at the front? I'm not sure we are. Dan Blake there comes across the start-finish line, and that is not an improvement, 145.01. And a few of them did improve there at the end. Obviously, Daniel Hunt, but also Chris Knox on his final lap was able to go a little bit quicker than he'd been up to that point. But we'll wait and see if this is how the grid is going to line up. There's Gavin Johnson with a new livery on the PDC racing car for this season. One other thing that's worth mentioning is the return of the Teams Cup. And the Teams Cup is being fought amongst about 10 different teams, PDC Racing being one of them. And the pair of PDC racing cars, both running in Division 2, actually. So Gavin Johnson and Jake Conway. Johnson is quicker than Conway in the session. Conway is all the way down in 19th place. But as we said, that could end up being a decent position within his individual class. We don't know yet, but it looks like being fairly competitive across both of the divisions tonight. This first race then is at the Okayama circuit in Japan, but worth mentioning as well that we will have different tracks for each race throughout the night, and the drivers are voting on the circuit choice as they go. They'll all be free circuits, so tracks that you don't have to pay extra for on the iRacing platform, just making it more accessible for drivers who perhaps don't do this full time, don't want to invest a huge amount of money into racing online, but that still leaves you with a really wide variety of circuits available. Just the free tracks themselves on iRacing are there's a pretty good mix there, and Okayama is the first of the 12 circuits that we'll visit over the course of the next 4 weeks, 3 races per night, as I said. So cars then starting to line up on the grid. This is how the grid looks. It's Daniel Hunt on pole with Freddie Hewitt second, Rhys Saunders and Chris Knox on row 2, ahead of Michael Seal and Dan Blake. Then it's Ben Constanduris and Gavin Johnson row 4. Carl Jacquelet and Kyle Power are on the 5th row, ahead of Cesare Rizzo and Steve Hefford on row 6. Outside the top 12 then, and we start getting into some of the Division 2 drivers here, and I'll try and run through the divisions in a bit more detail after the race has got going. But outside of that top 6, we have Ryan Mikulev is next, the second of the year 1 cars, and then James Holman on the 7th row alongside him. Ian Crosby and Adam Gale are next, ahead of Kip Stevens and Martina Ward, who makes her debut. Martina, David Ward's wife, and Martina has been doing really well in the Friends and Families racing, and she's making her PDC Racing League debut tonight. Jake Conway and Ian Court are next, ahead of Matthew Ragsdale and Kevin McGlone. Alex Hall and Dale Bennison were next, and then it's then it is Alan Toon and Paul Warren right at the back of the grid. So getting ready for the start. And as you can see, we're just waiting for a few of the drivers to load in, which I think is more or less done now. So Daniel Hunt then lining up on pole position, the number 99 car on the outside of row number 1. And when the lights go out, he will really be wanting to get into that first corner first, of course, as they all will. But Daniel in that 99 machine, definitely a potential race winner here. But there are plenty of other potential race winners up at the pointy end of the grid with him. Alongside him, Freddie Hewitt, former champion. Dan Blake, former champion. Chris Knox as well in the number 1 car. The red lights then are about to go on. For the first time tonight, we are racing in the PDC Racing League. Away they go. Daniel Hunt from pole position. Can he retain the lead into turn number 1? Looks as though he will. Freddie Hewitt slots through into second position. Rhys Saunders is up there in third in the year 1 car, but on the inside of him is Chris Knox, the white and blue machine, and I think Chris should emerge from turn 1 in third place. So it's grid order for the top 2, but Chris Knox getting himself ahead of Rhys Saunders through the first corner, except he runs wide at turn number 2, and Saunders goes back through. Michael Seal will try to dive up the inside as well. This is already playing nicely into the hands of Daniel Hunt and Freddie Hewitt, who will try to escape at the front of the field. You can see the battle is really the one for 4th place, with Knox, Seal and Dan Blake all together. As they head out of the hairpin for the first time, they're onto the back straight, and Freddie Hewitt are on board with him now, looking to try and take the race lead away from Daniel Hunt, over the hill, down the long back straight where the slipstream really starts to take effect. It bunches them all together. Hewitt on the left, that's the inside line for the next corner, and Freddie Hewitt is going to go through, and in fact, it looks like Rhys Saunders will try and follow him, almost loses the front of his car there as he gets very close to the back of Daniel Hunt. Doesn't quite manage to get through, so Hunt retains second, but it is Freddie Hewitt, started second on the grid after that late improvement for Daniel. It's Freddie that has managed to get himself up into the lead of the race. We're on board with Rhys Saunders in third, and Rhys Saunders is running in the year 1 team, so he is teammate to Dan Blake. We also have, just to confuse us, the year 1 TV team, which is Carl Jacquelet and Ryan Mikulev, and they're all running in Division 1, so lots of these green and pink and black cars are going to be together just to try and make my life difficult, and they're all pretty rapid as well, so expect them all to be at the sharp end for the duration. of the final corner then, 1 lap in the books, and onto the pit straight they will go. And look at Freddie Hewitt weaving around there, trying to break the toe, trying to escape from Daniel Hunt, who is under all sorts of pressure. Reece Saunders up the inside of him, and then up the inside goes Chris Knox to make it 3 wide into the braking zone at turn number 1. That is getting very, very close indeed. Chris Knox, despite having a triple slipstream there, wasn't really able to do much with it, and the next corner's a left-hander, so he finds himself once again, as he did on lap 1, on the dirty side of the road. Hewitt then fends them all off, but can he do so again when we get to that long back straight? These Skip Barber Formula 2000 cars give off a real slipstream, and the latest iRacing updates that have been made have really made that slipstream effect even more pronounced, and so that is improving the racing, certainly, but making it an awful lot harder for the race leader to pull away. Here is that back straight. There is the leading group of 5. It's Hewitt leading the way. Saunders second, Knox into third, and Dan Blake is the man on the move now as he moves up the inside of the 4th place car. Well, now 5th place car, Daniel Hunt. Meanwhile, for the lead, Saunders tries to go around the outside of Freddie Hewitt. Can't make it work. Freddie, again, defending that lead nicely, and the others maybe getting a bit frustrated here that they can't get through. Saunders stays second, Knox third, but with now Dan Blake starting to make his presence felt. Dan had a really good outing in the British Formula 4 iRacing Trophy earlier on this week with an amazing podium in the reverse grid second race, and I'm sure his confidence will be high after that, running inside the top 5 here. He's a former champion, remember. In fact, he was the first ever PDC Racing League champion, and he really wants to try and retain that crown again here. Freddie Hewitt, though, is definitely going to be a season-long thorn in his side. And the thing is, with the PDC Racing League, every season there are more and more quick drivers that are winning races, finishing on the podium, and ultimately challenging for the title. So those that were having it all their own way in the first couple of seasons certainly don't have it all their own way at this point, because it's a really fiercely competitive championship, and Reece Saunders just the latest of these names to be added to the list of quick drivers, but he's off the road. That was contact, I think, with Freddie Hewitt as they came out of turn 1. Hewitt holds on to the advantage out front, but unfortunately for Reece Saunders, he is falling down the order. That's now Michael Seal going around the outside. Here's the replay. So Saunders was chancing his arm around the outside, and there's just a bit of wheel banging as Freddie Hewitt, well, it was hard to tell from there whether Hewitt moved. This might tell us more. On board with Saunders, has his nose in front. Well, I mean, they both could have left each other more room, let's be honest. I'm not really willing to apportion 100% of the blame either way, but the end result is clear. There was wheel-to-wheel contact, off went Saunders, and he's lucky not to have made the barriers there. And actually, he's rejoined not too far behind the leaders. Now, though, it's Chris Knox's turn to start challenging Freddie Hewitt. In fact, does more than challenge. He takes the lead away from the number 17 car going into the hairpin, but then runs wide on the exit. Doesn't matter. The number 1 car stays in front. Chris Knox racing for Team Cheetah, which in the past has been affiliated with the Fastar Esports team, but they're running separate teams for this season. So Chris Knox running in Team Cheetah, whereas in the... along with Adam Gale, by the way, who's running in Division 2, but then Freddie Hewitt and Michael Seal racing for Fastar Esports. So it's a 2-pronged attack, essentially, from that group. Freddie Hewitt there tried to get back at Chris Knox going through that complex, ended up offline, and so Daniel Hunt, oh, he's on the inside and he hits him! Freddie Hewitt off the road into the gravel trap, and that is a real turn up for the books. There is Freddie, look, trying to rejoin a long, long way down the order, and possibly with damage. The number 17 car is off the road and will rejoin in the end down in, well, he's just behind Ian Court, so that puts him well outside the top 10. Here's what happened. Well, Hunt was alongside. He definitely had his nose in the gap for my money, and Freddie Hewitt, I'm not convinced, was fully aware that he was there, and that contact has not helped Freddie Hewitt's chances going into the second half of the race. Freddie Hewitt then, he joins in 13th, but that is a lot further down the order than he was half a lap or so ago. That has, well, ultimately favoured Dan Blake, hasn't it? Because Dan Blake has found himself quite nicely positioned now in second place, albeit having to defend here from Daniel Hunt, who has obviously been delayed in all of that. The Year 1 cars are getting themselves together, aren't they? You've got Saunders up there challenging Dan Blake, and then Carl Jacquelet not far behind them either. Haven't seen any sign of Ryan Micallef. Where's he? I think, oh, he's running 8th, so they're all in the top 10. Are the Year 1 boys, and they're, again, just to make my life difficult, Ryan Micallef is not running the same livery as the other 3 Year 1 affiliated drivers, so it's a very nice livery, don't get me wrong, but it is in stealth mode with the white and black Year 1 TV car going up the inside here of Gavin Johnson, who is running in Division 2 and I think is leading Division 2. I can't see anyone in front of him who is also in Division 2. Yeah, so I think that's Gavin Johnson, the Division 2 leader, just being overtaken there. And that won't bother him too much because with this new division system, they score points within their own class. So if you finish 8th position as Gavin is now, but you are first in Division 2, you score first place points within your class. So there'll be 2 champions at the end of the season, as is fairly customary, really, with multi-class racing. Fastest lap set by Ryan Micallef. So just as I said, he was flying under the radar. He pops up there in 7th place with the fastest lap of anyone. He's 6 seconds off the lead, though, which is still being held by Chris Knox. And he's the first driver, really, to have been able to break away to any extent here. You can see he's got nearly 9/10 of a second cushion over Daniel Hunt. And then the 3 Year 1 cars with Michael Seal just tagging along at the back of the leading group of 6. Head out the hairpin, up the back straight. This Okayama circuit that's produced some really good racing in the past in the PDC Racing League. And I think we'll continue to do so for the rest of this race, which is just past 1/3 distance now. 20-minute races, it's a nice length of race, that, because it's still very much a short sprint race, but it's definitely long enough that tyre wear and tactics can come into it. If you have a moment, for example, like Freddie Hewitt's had, it's not that difficult for you to claw your way back up into the points. There is Freddie, 11th place now. 2.5 behind Cesare Rizzo, who's less than a second behind Kyle Power. So definitely some more points here for Freddie take. 11th place overall, but that's 10th within Division 1. So he would score a point finishing inside the top 10. Certainly not the points haul he was hoping for. And of course, we don't know how much damage that car's had, because not only has he had that contact with Daniel Hunt, but remember there was a bit of wheel banging, wasn't there, with Rhys Saunders going through the first corner earlier in that lap. So it may well be that not only the right rear, but the left rear suspension has taken a bit of a bang. So Freddie's lap times, what are his lap times? Well, his previous lap was a personal best, actually, 146.4. So that suggests there isn't too much damage, but the pace at the front of the field is significantly quicker now than it was when Freddie was out front. Chris Knox set the fastest lap just then, a 144.9, immediately bettered by Daniel Hunt, though, by half a second. Daniel Hunt with a 144.46 is now only just under 0.6 of a second away from the race leader, and he's getting away from Saunders, Blake, Jacquelet and Seal behind. So it could be a 2-horse race developing here between Chris Knox and Daniel Hunt. I've seen enough of these PDC Racing League events to know that you definitely can't make any bold predictions at half race distance. Things do tend to change. It's part of the nature of the competitive field, but also these Skip Barber cars that they race, because of this strong slipstream effect, you can gap the group behind, but as soon as you then catch someone and start racing them, it really allows the chasing group to close in. And that might be what's about to happen, because Daniel Hunt has definitely caught the race leader. There's Jake Conway, by the way. Jake Conway is running for PDC Racing as well as Gavin Johnson, the pair of them both in Division 2, and Conway is running in 20th place overall. He's having a bit of a lonely race, 10 seconds behind Steve Hefford, 3 seconds ahead of Alan Toome. And a shout out as well to the driver in 16th place, because in 16th place, only a few places ahead of Conway, is Martina Ward, who I said at the start of the race was making her debut. And there she is, right on cue. She has, first of all, stayed out of trouble, which is no mean feat at the start of these races, as she's found in the friends and family races in the recent past. But Martina is also in the thick of the action here. She's running 16th. Dale Bennison is the car in front of her. Kevin McGlone is the car behind. Now, Martina is running in the Division 2 category, so she is sort of surrounded by Division 2 drivers. I think, though, just doing some rough math, she's in the top 5 in class, I reckon. Ian Crosby is coming up to try and get past her, but Ian Crosby is a Division 1 car, so she can let Ian go, and that won't cost her any championship points. Not that I think she's thinking that way. Martina, a true racer, wants to try and hang on to every position she can. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Martina, because this was exactly what we hoped to see from the friends and family races. An opportunity basically for friends and relatives of the PDC League, Racing League regulars to have a crack at this iRacing thing, and 1 or 2 of them have turned out to be pretty handy. Martina definitely one of them. It's good to see her making the jump up to the big leagues now. On board with Gavin Johnson, that is Ryan Mikulev behind. So Mikulev is about to take 8th place away from Gavin. Again, though, this is not for position within class, and that's just as well because Gavin Johnson's getting swamped now. Cesare Rizzo is there, going around the outside in the 47 car. And this is all getting Kyle Power as well, isn't it? Yeah, Kyle Power, sorry, is in the dark green car. Rizzo is in the all black car at the back of the group. Gavin Johnson doesn't really need to be mixing it up too much with these drivers because Kyle Power is a Division 1 driver, so is Cesare Rizzo, so is Mikulev, and so too is the car catching them, which is significantly Freddie Hewitt. So Hewitt, not only is he catching Gavin Johnson, but he is starting now to close in on some other Division 1 drivers. There is Freddie, look in the background. The top 10 by the end of this race is definitely not beyond the realms of possibility. He's got a little bit of overtaking to do if he's going to take any serious points out of this. He is going the right way, though, closing in on those cars in front. Left of your screen, you can see there's a new fastest lap set by Rhys Saunders now, 144.345, means the top 3 are covered by just 0.6 of a second, as there's lots of ducking and diving going on into turn 1. Kyle Power, having got past Gavin Johnson, is now trying to find a way ahead of Ryan Mikulev for 7th place. There, though, are the leading trio. It's Knox, Hunt and Saunders. Saunders, a bit of a revelation here, isn't he? He's not that many PDC races in the past, but he is leading the Year 1 charge in this one. He's pulling away from Dan Blake to the tune of nearly a full second now, although Dan might be able to reel them in the near future, because look what's happening. They're starting to dice over the race lead. Who'd have thought it? Daniel Hunt then goes to the outside of Chris Knox. Which way will Rhys Saunders go? Goes to the outside with Daniel as they hit the brakes into the right-hander, then cuts to the inside, tries to pick the pocket of Daniel Hunt there, coming off the corner. That was an opportunistic attempt at a move. It didn't quite pay off because Daniel on the wide line had the momentum through the corner. And Rhys Saunders then stays in 3rd place, but this is some seriously good racing going on here amongst the leading 3. Again, Saunders has a look up the inside, has a big lunge up the inside of Daniel Hunt, who just about sees him coming and just about leaves him enough room. Hunt, that wide line there for Hunt gives him the inside line for the next 3 corners, though 4 if you include turn number 1 at the end of the pit straight, because we're in the final sector now, near the end of the 8th lap of racing. That little move attempted by Saunders that didn't work has not only failed to benefit him, but it's also failed to benefit Daniel Hunt, because it's given Chris Knox another half a second's breathing space. Look at the way that gap comes down there. That is the slipstream effect. Daniel Hunt's car is not quicker than Chris Knox's car. They're all absolutely identical. That is one of the joys of spec racing on an online platform. You can absolutely guarantee no one's been doing any tinkering to the engine to make it quicker. You can tweak setups and things like that, but the cars essentially are identical in performance. Hunt's car just quicker in a straight line because of the slipstream that it was picking up, even from 5 or 6 tenths back of the race leader. That means that by the time they get to the hairpin at the top of the track and onto that long drag over the hill down the back straight, they're all back together again. Leading 3 then head over the crest of the hill. See Kyle Power there has finally got himself ahead of Ryan Mikulev, and Freddie Hewitt is into the top 10 as well now. Gavin Johnson then is the next car in front of him. Gavin still hanging on well amongst the Division 1 drivers. The lead Division 1 drivers, though, are right at the head of the field, and as we move into the final 5 minutes of racing, it is any one of 3, possibly 4 drivers that could still win this. I haven't yet counted out Dan Blake. And I suppose if I'm not counting out Dan Blake, I shouldn't count out Carl Jacquelet either in 5th position. He's only a further second back, and that second can disappear in a flash if there's a little bit of chaos in front, which I'm certainly not counting out here. The hill, on board with Knox, looking back at Daniel Hunt in the 99 car, who works his way through these tight right-handers, low speed, and that's where you've really got to get quite physical with these cars. It's all about momentum. They're not the most powerful of cars. They don't accelerate that quickly, so you've got to try and keep the mid-corner speed up as high as you can and carry that speed out onto the next straight, which Rhys Saunders really did look. He had a good run out of the final corner. He's in the slipstream of Daniel Hunt, who's just holding the middle ground there, trying to defend into turn 1 without really holding himself up too much. And does it work? Well, yes, because he's got an overlap on the exit of the corner. This is giving us a really dynamic look at how the momentum and the different lines you take into the corners has such an effect. You go in on that tight line and you gain so much time on the way in, and then you're woefully slow coming off the corner, and you end up coming under pressure down the next straight. It's a real art is racing in close quarters like this. Chris Knox is one of the best at keeping drivers behind him, even if they've got that slipstream, which enables them to go a bit more quickly than him. He is a very, very strong defensive driver. On board with Saunders then, closing in on Daniel Hunt in the toe. There's a gap on the inside, and that's too good an opportunity to miss. He's late on the brakes. He's very late on the brakes, almost too late, because he got very close, perilously close there to the back of Chris Knox's car. And I think he had to just check up mid-corner to avoid contact on the exit. Saunders is able to fight his way back alongside. It's a feature of the Okayama circuit. Lots of right-hand corners that lead immediately into left-hand corners and vice versa. So the inside line for one corner isn't necessarily the inside for the next one. The way that Dan Blake has now reeled them in. So it's most definitely 4 cars for the lead now. Lap times then 1 minute 44. So we're going to have time for 2 more laps here, aren't we? Because we've got 2.5 minutes still to go. Coming towards the end of the 10th lap of racing now. And this is starting to get very, very lively indeed. Saunders then in second position. Teammate to Dan Blake as well, remember. So as it stands, year one would be on for the best of the points hauls within the team's championship. And year one TV not doing too badly out of this either, are they? With Jacquelet 5th and Mikulev in 7th. So, of course, it could all still go wrong, and that has happened in the past. But for the time being, if we threw the checkered flag now, they would be scoring quite well out of all of this. Hopefully, we're not throwing the checkered flag for another 2 minutes, though, so there's plenty of time for things to change here. Oh, Cesare Rizzo is in the pit lane, just to distract myself by something I've spotted on the left-hand side of the screen. Rizzo, who was in that fight at the back of the top 10 with Gavin Johnson, Carl Power, Freddie Hewitt. Something has clearly gone awry there, because Cesare, who doesn't often seem to have an abundance of good fortune in these PDC races, has found himself in the pits and towards the back of the top 20 as a result. Down the back straight for the penultimate time then. Chris Knox continues to successfully defend this lead, but Rhys Saunders is having a big go around the outside as they drop into the hairpin. Make it work though. The exit, Hunt and Blake starting to get close, and there was a bit of contact there, I think, as they went through the left-hander. And Blake just getting a bit too close to the back of Daniel Hunt's car. And as they wind their way back up the hill, Dan Blake is really starting now to apply the pressure. You can see Chris Knox leading the way then. We're about to come on to the final lap of racing. And is it going to be Knox, Saunders, Hunt, Blake, or maybe even Carl Jacquelet who take the victory here? Because Jacquelet's now only 1.7 seconds off the lead, less than a second behind his teammate Dan Blake. They head back down the back straight, the pit straight, I should say. There's a back marker in front of them, which is going to make this final lap of racing all the more entertaining. And Daniel Hunt has a big dive up the inside. Almost lost control there as he tried to change the line so abruptly into the first corner. It's now or never, though, really. But remember, this is the first race of 12 in this season. So is it really worth taking the big risks in this race to try and get a race win? Second or third is better than going for a move that doesn't work and ending up in the gravel trap. Well, Hunt is going to have a go here. But the inside of Saunders can't make it stick there through the right-hander. That's going to give Dan Blake the better exit. Blake tries to get up the inside. There's almost contact there with Daniel Hunt as they head off up the hill. And then down the back straight they go again now. Can Chris Knox pick up a little bit of a slipstream here? Well, Rhys Saunders is trying to go on the grass as they go up the back straight. And Daniel Hunt will make it 3 wide to the outside as well. This is surely not going to work. Into the braking zone, Rhys Saunders somehow has done it. Squeezes his way through into the race lead. That was a really bold move. He wasn't entirely within the track limits when he did it, so we'll have to wait and see if there's a conversation to be had about that afterwards. And now running wide through the gravel is Chris Knox. So Daniel Hunt is up the inside of him to try and take second place away. He couldn't make that stick. Dan Blake has a look at the inside of Hunt as well as they go into the left-hander. Almost contact, but they just about avoided it. The positions stay as they were. 3 more corners to go. Well, now 2 more corners to go, and it is Saunders that leads the way. Knox in second, Hunt third, 4th Blake, 5th Jacquelet. You could throw a pocket handkerchief across the 5 of them, but I don't think that anyone's going to be able to beat Rhys Saunders, who comes out of the final corner to take what will be his first ever victory in the PDC Racing League. A brilliant result there for the Year 1 racing team, and it is Rhys Saunders that wins the first race of the night, wins the first race of the season, with Chris Knox in second position. 3rd place goes to Daniel Hunt, 4th Dan Blake, 5th Carl Jacquelet, 6th Michael Seal, and then we wait to see, yes, Ryan Mikulev will get 7th, Freddie Hewitt recovers to 8th, Kyle Power 9th, and Gavin Johnson rounds out the top 10. That was a brilliant race and some seriously good competition towards the front. Gavin Johnson, by the way, I think has just taken the win in Division 2. 11th place there. You can see Adam Gale, 12th Ben Constanduras, the rest of them all cycling through, but it is Rhys Saunders in spectacular fashion who manages to take the race victory. That was brilliant. Well, that was from the front runners, and that was a particularly robust move made by Rhys to get the lead. But I think that was, I think it was just about fair enough. He will, of course, argue that Chris Knox sort of squeezed him down onto the white line. Chris will say that Rhys Saunders went outside of track limits. Well, there it is again, look. Well, on second viewing, I think Chris Knox might have a point. That was definitely not within the white lines, and it certainly had the effect of scaring Kip Stevens off the road in front of them, who was the driver going a lap down. Yeah, you see, there was never a car's width there, was there? There was never a car's width between the right-hand side of Knox's car and the white line. And, okay, there was when Rhys Saunders rejoined the track, but that was sort of either by then, because he'd already made the move. And then, of course, Chris Knox ended up in the gravel at that next corner, and that really scuppered any chance that he had of regaining the place in the final few corners. So, well, wouldn't be the PDC Racing League if there wasn't some drama and controversy waiting at the end of the race. So, well, I'm sure there'll be a discussion about that afterwards. But for the time being, it's Rhys Saunders that takes the victory, Chris Knox second, and Daniel Hunt third. I think we'll be able to have a look at the result in a moment or two, hopefully. There it is, right on cue. So Saunders with the win and therefore takes the early championship advantage. Chris Knox second, Daniel Hunt third, Dan Blake fourth, and Carl Jacquelet in fifth position. Michael Thiel was sixth ahead of Ryan Micallef in seventh. Eighth place goes to Freddie Hewitt, ninth for Kyle Power, 10th position for Gavin Johnson, and he takes the win in Division 2. Then it's Adam Gale, Ben Constanduras, Ian Court, Ian Crosby. The two Ians never far apart, are they? Kevin McGlone, Dale Bennison, Martina Ward with a really solid 17th place, but she stayed out of trouble mainly in that one. Jake Conway in 18th position. And then to the back of the top 10, we've got 19th for Steve Hefford, 20th Cesare Rizzo, 21st Alan Toon, then James Holman was the first of the drivers, one lap down. Kip Stevens, we saw, went a lap down on the final lap. Then Matthew Ragsdale, Alex Hall, and Paul Warren, who was definitely in trouble there, finishing 5 laps down. So that then is our first race of the evening done, and I'm hoping we'll get a chance to chat to some of the drivers. Yes, we've got our top 2 drivers waiting outside the commentary box, so we'll have a word first with Rhys Saunders, shall we then? Because Rhys, in really dramatic fashion, has won the first race of the season. Well, Rhys, that was a brilliant drive, but talk us through that move on the last lap.
It was one of those where I'd sized him up the lap before, having a look. He went defensive quite early down the straight, so I knew if I was going to have to get it done, it was going to have to be on the inside, and I was going to have to get elbows out. I caught a bit of the grass on the way through, but say elbows out, and we got it done, and no contact, which is always nice as well.
Yeah, it was a really clean race all round, wasn't it? But you were involved in a little bit of wheel banging early on, weren't you, with Freddie at the first corner? What was your view on that one?
I don't know. I've not looked at the replay yet, and I never like to give an opinion until I've looked at the replay. As I was driving at the time, it felt like I'd left him enough room on the inside. But say until I see the replay, I don't want to lay blame on anyone's door.
Well, nonetheless, a really strong result for you. Obviously, early championship leader. Also, year one will be the early teams leaders. It looks like the team, on the whole, are on fire, aren't they? All 4 cars inside the top 7.
Oh, yeah, no, it's fantastic, especially I couldn't see Ryan back on my relative, but yeah, seeing us all near the front, I knew wherever we shook out on that last lap that we were in for a decent haul of points and a great start to the championship. I think I got fastest lap as well.
Yes, I think you're right. 144.3, which is pretty decent. Random grid, of course, now for races 2 and 3. So if that race was exciting, I think the next 2 are going to be even more dramatic, aren't they?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to see where we start as well.
Yes, I'm sure you all are. Well, congratulations, Rhys, anyway, on the race victory, and hopefully not the last time we speak to you on the podium.
Excellent. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
So Rhys Saunders then race winner, and the man that he passed on the final lap in pretty robust fashion was Chris Knox. Well, Chris, I'm going to ask you the same question I just asked Rhys. Talk us through that last lap.
Well, I'm sitting on the white line, and then I'll get call car right, and I was like, well, I'm on the white line, so where the hell is he? So yeah, I don't think that result will stand for him. To be fair, that was if I'd have stayed on the right hand side, he would have ploughed into the side of me. So I had to give him room to get back on. So I guess that result will be changed around in the steward's office.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one, I suppose. It definitely didn't look like there was a car's width there, but up until that point, you seemed to be the driver that was able to stay out in front for the longest. It's quite hard to do that, isn't it? Especially with the slipstream down that back straight. So what was your secret to leading more laps than anyone else tonight?
The draft around here is horrible, so I just couldn't shake them off. Anytime Dan got close to me, I just sort of backed him up a little bit into Reese, but yeah, I'm not a fan of this track. So I've been pretty busy today casting for a new project I'm working on. So I've not really been able to put the time in, but yeah, hopefully put on a good show for the guys watching.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That was a typical PDC Racing League race, that, with 5 or 6 of you on top of each other. The next few races, then, hopefully, you'll be able to repeat these results. It would be nice, wouldn't it, to get a solid points haul out of these first 3 races?
Yeah, the first race is the only one that's really certain. From now on, it's really your luck where you end up. So like, I could be on the back row, and Freddie and Reese could be on the front row. So yeah, it's just your luck from now on.
That's the joy of the random grid, isn't it? Well, congratulations, Chris. We'll wait and see if a decision is made on that final lap. But regardless, a solid start to the season.
No worries. See you in a bit.
Knox then finishes in second place. No sign of Daniel Hunt, unfortunately. So we're going to dive into a very quick break now whilst we change servers. And we'll be back in just a few minutes' time with race 2 of the night. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you've had a chance to catch your breath after that entertaining first race of the night for the PDC Racing League here at Okayama. It is the first night of racing in a new season of racing for the PDC Racing League, and a race that was won, on the road at least, by Rhys Saunders. We're still awaiting official confirmation as to whether that result will stick. I'd imagine we might not get it until after the night's racing is completed, but Saunders won on the road from Chris Knox second, Daniel Hunt third, Dan Blake fourth, and Carl Jacquelet in fifth, whilst Division 2 was won by Gavin Johnson. It was Adam Gale who was second, so PDC Racing ahead of Team Cheetah in Division 2, with third place in that class. Just trying to figure that out, going to Kevin McGlone by the looks of it. So some Division 2 drivers doing pretty well there, inside the top dozen or so in the overall result. For race number 2, though, of course, it is a fully random grid. So what do we have? Well, we have Steve Hefford that looks to have been drawn on the pole position with Kyle Power alongside him. Quick driver there in Kyle Powell near the front. James Holman and race 1 winner Rhys Saunders on row 2 ahead of Daniel Hunt, also a front runner in the first race. Then Kip Stevens. Cesare Rizzo is quick alongside Jake Conway on row 4. Dan Blake on row 5 with Chris Knox, 2 more to watch for. Then Matt Ragsdale and Gavin Johnson rounding out the top dozen. It's Michael Seal ahead of Adam Gale, then Carl Jacquelet and Kevin McGlone with Ian Crosby and Dale Benison on row 9. Ben Constanduris and Martina Ward round out the top 20 ahead of Freddie Hewitt all the way down on the 11th row alongside Ian Court. Alex Hall is next for No Control Racing ahead of Paul Warren. Then row number 13 is where we will find the last couple of cars. Yeah, there they are, Alan Toon and Ryan Mikulev. So some work to be done here for some of the year 1 drivers that were all so quick in race 1. The exception being Rhys Saunders, the race 1 winner, who is right at the sharp end of the grid. Lights then are about to go on. It's Steve Hefford on pole position, Kyle Power alongside him on the left. The lights are out. Away they go for the second time tonight at Okayama. And it's a pretty even getaway from both the front row men. On the outside is Hefford. On the inside is Kyle Power. And Hefford gets to turn 1 first. Power second. Third place for James Holman. So grid order for the time being. But Rhys Saunders will be keen to get a move on here. He knows there are some quick drivers that he was dicing with in the first race, not far behind him. If he can get a few cars between himself and those others chasing him down, he might be able to make an early break. Right now, though, no one making a break. It's Hefford with the lead, but by less than a car length. With Kyle Power in second place, Holman has a look at the inside. Rhys Saunders goes to the outside, though, carries lots of speed around the outside of the corner and might just be able to snatch third place away from James Holman. They're wheel to wheel as they come out of the hairpin, up and over the hill. Can Steve Hefford fend them all off then? Steve Hefford in the 72 car, running in Division 1 then tonight, and he's going to be swamped here, isn't he? Because Kyle Power goes to the inside. Rhys Saunders is there as well. They're all locking up on cold tyres, and here comes Daniel Hunt. Daniel Hunt and Rhys Saunders, who are 2 of the drivers battling for race 1 honours, are already together inside the top 5, but it's Hunt that's coming forward, and actually Rhys Saunders in danger of losing a place here. Started 4th, and he could be 5th by the time they get to the next corner, because Daniel Hunt has some serious momentum there around the outside. It's Kyle Power then that's got the lead away from Steve Hefford out of all of that, and Hefford runs wide again, so James Holman gets alongside him in that sort of Martini liveried number 104 car, sort of akin to the early noughties Ford Focus rally cars, isn't it? That very nice livery on James Holman's cars. Chris Knox is up there as well. Look, and Chris Knox already having a go at the inside of Daniel Hunt, and then he'll be on the tail of Rhys Saunders, and I think there might be a score to settle there from what Chris was saying. So, a typically energetic first lap of racing, and it's Kyle Power with the lead, Hefford second, third Holman, fourth Saunders, fifth Hunt and sixth Knox, but that could all change as they hit the brakes for turn 1. Lots of people looking to try and make a move, but Chris Knox, look, is the only one that actually tried, and he gets himself ahead, or alongside, sorry, of Daniel Hunt, and right behind the pair of them is Dan Blake, so it's now the top 7 cars, covered by only a second and a half or so. Out of turn number 3, through the kinks they go, down into the hairpin. Holman having a go for the race, for second place there against Steve Hefford. Oh, contact, and Daniel Hunt is off. Daniel Hunt is off. That was Chris Knox that got into him, and the runner-up from race 1, Chris Knox, already involved in some contact at the start of race 2, and that was Daniel Hunt, who immediately has headed for the pit lane, and you can see why that contact did a lot of damage to the rear of the car, and he has to head to the pits for repairs. Now, here's another replay on board with Knox. Well, to be fair, it looked to me like Daniel Hunt was moving across on him, but I wouldn't like to be the person in charge of judging that one, because it was very, very tight. But the end result is clear. Knox is still there, but unfortunately, Daniel Hunt is not. Martina Ward has also been in dramas at the start of this race. So has Carl Jacquelet. So that's 3 drivers a lot further down than they should be. And Cesare Rizzo. Remember I said Rizzo had a decent starting position, but he's all the way down in 21st place. He's dropped down the order. Chris Knox, though, continues to climb up it, undeterred from that contact that he's just had with Daniel Hunt. He's just got himself, well, did have himself ahead of James Holman. Then he ran wide through the hairpin. Holman gets him straight back again. Chris Knox did tell us after that first race he didn't like this track. Oh, my word, that was close. He just executed an overtake in the gravel, though, so he can't... he's certainly not lacking in commitment tonight, is Chris Knox. But that was a little bit of a scary moment there, and there's contact here for Kevin McGlone and Ian Court. Ian Court in the 77 car gone round. The second of those Martini liveried cars, and it's number 7 of Kevin McGlone he's tangled with, is it? Yeah, McGlone goes off. Oh dear, and unfortunately for the 77 car there, absolutely nothing that he could have done to avoid that contact, Ian Court. And Court is in the pit lane under repairs. First 2 laps of this race have already seen a few casualties then, and they might not be the last ones. It is Kyle Power, I remind you, that leads the race. We're on board with him now. Reece Saunders 2nd, Steve Hefford is 3rd, Dan Blake is 4th, doing well. Chris Knox 5th, get it right, James Holman 6th, 7th Gavin Johnson having another really solid drive, 8th Freddie Hewitt, 9th Ian Crosby, and 10th position is Jake Conway. So that's how the top 10 stands at the moment. Who is out of position then, would you say? Well, Cesare Rizzo definitely in 20th is out of position. Anyone else? Well, no, I think by and large, most of the expected frontrunners have got themselves into the top 10 now. There is the battle with Jake Conway and Ian Crosby. So this is for 9th and 10th place, with Conway 9th in the PDC racing car. Just behind his teammate, Gavin Johnson. So PDC Racing having a good run in this second race as well. Where did Jake Conway end up in the first race? Just drag the result up. Jake Conway was... although down in 18th place in race 1. Well, he's just lost a place there to Ian Crosby with a mistake, but he's still doing significantly better than he did in the first race. So PDC Racing on for some good points. Remember, it's year 1 who have the points lead after race 1 in the Teams Championship. That could all change because some of their drivers have already had dramas. Carl Jacquelet, for example. And where is... yes, where is the other year 1 car? Because year 1 TV car, Ryan Mikalev, is out of the race. So not sure what happened to him, but yeah, Mikalev, you can see at the bottom of the timing tower, out of the race. So here's what happened. First lap, I'm going to presume. Oh dear, 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 Ryan. That was a big lose, and he appeared to do it all by himself as well. But Ryan Mikalev on board with him. Oh, cold tyres, I think, over that little crest. It's deceptively easy to lose control there. It looks like practically a straight. There is a kink over the crest. You wouldn't think it was enough to lose control of the car over. But just ask Ryan Mikalev, it's clearly possible to do so. Right, Reece Saunders going for the race lead and gets it, but locks up at the hairpin, runs out wide, so Kyle Power will try and get it back. Gets his nose back ahead, but the next corner's a left-hander, and so it is Reece Saunders that gets the advantage. Reece Saunders, race 1 winner, into first position again. Now, in the back of his mind, he may well be thinking that that race victory that he took in the first race might be stripped away from him. So he'll want to back it up now with another win. There's a spin in front of them. That's Ian Court again, I think, isn't it? Number 77, who was about to go a lap down anyway and then had a rotation. With a little bit of damage, I think, that he'd sustained earlier on, perhaps assisting him around. Thankfully, the leaders had not quite caught up to him there before he had that latest moment. But yeah, Reece Saunders will be doubly keen to get a clean win in here without any judicial procedures hanging over it. Just to back up the fact that he deserved to win the first one, if nothing else, but also to guarantee a good haul of points from at least the second race. And so Reece Saunders then turns his way through the first corner with the lead. Kyle Power 2nd, 3rd Steve Hefford, 4th Dan Blake, 5th Chris Knox, 6th James Holman, 7th Freddie Hewitt. Hewitt's having a quiet race, isn't he? Just set a personal best, but he's nearly 3 seconds behind the sort of lead group, really. Got the top 3 covered by 3.2 seconds, and then another 3 seconds back to Hewitt, who's sort of on his own in 7th. So Freddie, despite having been in that lead pack in race 1, isn't really setting the world alight here in race 2. There is Freddie at the Fastar Esports car. And we'll watch his times with interest now. He's 3 seconds behind Holman. Can he start bringing that time down maybe over the next handful of laps. With the leaders, Reece Saunders under pressure now from Kyle Power. Kyle Power's going to do to Saunders exactly what Reece did to him a lap ago, except he does it a little bit more neatly this time, doesn't lock up the brakes, but actually that didn't really work in his favour because that means that he's still on the outside line for the next corner, and look who is lingering behind them, Steve Hefford, who has certainly not been dropped by these two. In fact, he's joining right back in, gets up the inside of Kyle Power, and then goes for the race lead as well. This is a really gutsy drive from Steve Hefford. Doesn't quite get the lead, or does he? Saunders is way wide. We're on board with Hefford. No, he needs to try and find a gap back in line now. That's the problem. Manages to do so, but Steve Hefford back into second place is not being shown up here against some of the perhaps more fancied runners. Hefford is a Division 1 driver, but in fairness to him, hasn't always been in the same pace as people like Dan Blake and Chris Knox, both of whom he's running ahead of in this race. So this is a really impressive performance. Oh, now don't lose third place. Just as soon as I said he was ahead of Dan Blake, almost like he's listening to me, thinks, right, I'll do something about that. Dives up the inside and takes third place away from Steve Hefford at turn 1. Hefford will try and hang on the outside line because that gives him the inside for turn 2. And actually, that works quite well. So Hefford does retain third. Chris Knox in 5th position, watching this with interest, having just set the new fastest lap of the race, a 1:44.84 that was for Chris Knox. And he'll be keeping a watching brief. He'll know that to win a championship, you need to make sure you finish all of the races. So as tempting as it will be to get stuck into this battle, it's not really the most sensible thing for him to do right now. All of this, though, happening, remember, behind Reece Saunders and Kyle Power, who are still first and second, despite Power briefly losing that second place to Hefford a lap ago. Dan Blake now, who pulls out of line, as much to try and defend from Chris Knox as it is to try and attack Steve Hefford, I think. Hefford runs wide, Blake almost up the inside. Finds himself on the outside line for the left-hander, and Chris Knox, again, needed no second invitation. Through he goes, Knox into 4th. That was a pretty easy move in the end. So Chris Knox moves himself ahead of Dan Blake. That could prove significant by the end of the race, by the end of the season, you could argue, because these two drivers definitely you'd expect to be championship contenders here this season. So any point that one can get over the other is going to be worth an awful lot come the end of these 4 weeks and 12 races. Chris Knox not hanging about here, is he? As soon as he gets past Dan Blake, he's straight on the gearbox of Steve Hefford and trying to find a way past him. The final couple of corners. Along the pit straight again, over the curbs and down into turn number 1 they will go again. Knox in the slipstream. Can he take third place away from Hefford here? Hefford's just moving to the right slightly, but Knox, as you can see, is not close enough. Stays in 4th position, loses the rear a little bit on the way in. Carries good momentum off the corner. Look at the amount of green that's appearing on the timing tower, by the way. That denotes that a driver is setting a personal best lap time, which Chris Knox might not do this time because he followed Steve Hefford into the dirt there, going out of turn 2. Hefford ran wide and Knox ran even wider, but neither of them really lost too much momentum. Certainly Knox didn't, because he throws it up the inside into the bottom hairpin, and it looks like he might come out the other side of it in 3rd position. Keeps Knight's tight line there as he accelerates up the hill. Is he going to be able to move into 3rd position? They're neck and neck as they go over the crest of the hill. And of course, on the left-hand side of the road, Hefford's getting a whiff of a slipstream from the top 2, and that's dragging him back ahead. Knox has got the inside for the hairpin, though. And is he going to go through this slightly banked corner that we've seen that you can go around the outside to defend your position? Hefford is not able to do it. Knox goes 3rd, and critically for Chris Knox, Steve Hefford does not allow Dan Blake to go through, and Blake now has his hands full with James Holman, who has appeared sort of out of nowhere here in 6th position. James Holman, who's been a second or so adrift of this group for the first half of the race, suddenly making his presence felt. James Holman, remember, was a little unlucky in the first race, wasn't he? Had that contact that dropped him outside the top 20. Well, he really could do with some good points from this one. The 104 car there, the Martini car, is on course for at least a top 6, and it could yet become a top 5. Oh, we're starting to come together quite nicely here. No one's really escaping, although Saunders and Power have just slightly gapped the next 3 or 4, haven't they? But I think with Chris Knox in 3rd place, he might be able to drag them back towards the top 2. Having said that, Power's just set the fastest lap, look, at 1:44.4, a 10th quicker than the leader Saunders, 4 tenths quicker, almost anyway, than Chris Knox behind him. Knox had a bit of overtaking still on that lap, of course, himself ahead of Steve Hefford. Hewitt, by the way, I said about 6 or 7 minutes ago he was 3 seconds behind these cars. Well, he's now 3.3 seconds behind, so he's not gaining, he's losing time on the top 6. There he is, look in the background, still just ahead of Gavin Johnson. A real shout out here to Gavin Johnson as well, because he is the leading Division 2 driver again, and he is absolutely flying. He's matching Freddie Hewitt, who's a multiple race winner in the PDC Racing League that Gavin, of course, helps organise. PDC Racing, the team behind the PDC Racing League, and I know that Gavin would love to thank all of the sponsors and PDC themselves for continuing to back this increasingly popular championship. And Gavin hasn't always, in the recent past at least, been able to reward them with top results because he's been plagued with bad luck, but at least at the start of this season he seems to have not only the speed but the ability to stay out of trouble, and having finished where was he in race 1? He was 10th in race 1 but winner in Division 2. He's now 2 places better overall in this race, and again leading the class. Nearest rival is, as you can see on the left hand side of your screen now, Jake Conway. The light blue numbers are the Division 2 drivers, the dark blue Division 1. So Division 1 locking out positions 1 through to 7. And Gavin Johnson, sort of the lone ranger within Division 2, the only Division 2 driver inside the top 10 overall. And Ian Crosby and Ben Constant-Duras, who are both Division 1 drivers, just behind. So Conway and Adam Gale are at the moment 2nd and 3rd in Division 2. And remember, you score points within your class, so the overall position doesn't really matter. It is all about where you are in relation to those that you share a division with. So as Gavin Johnson continues merrily on his way at the front of the field, Rhys Saunders is still ahead of Kyle Power. Chris Knox, though, was fractionally quicker than them last time around, a 1 minute 44.32. Saunders and Power set almost identical lap times, only 1/100th of a second apart. Power fractionally the quicker of the two. I do get the feeling that Kyle Power is sort of content to stay behind Saunders for the time being, trying to keep the others at arm's length before maybe settling it over the final few laps. But if Chris Knox gets any closer, that might just spur Kyle Power into action, and that is exactly what's happening. The gap is coming down by them second here, between second place Power and third place Knox. It's down to 3/4 of a second now, whereas it was over a second, just over a second at the start of the lap. Saunders and Power are about to have company, and look at the way that Knox, not only is he catching the leaders, but he's pulling away from Hefford, Blake and Holman behind. That was a bit wide, wasn't it, for Saunders, as he went out of the second of those awkward 90-degree left-handers, slightly off camber through those. It's easy to understeer wide on the exit. That's what he did, but there's a tyre barrier just looming out there, ready to catch you if you go too far wide. Saunders then holding on to the advantage, but how much longer can he do so? I do think Kyle Power is going to start feeling a bit more eager to get through here, shall we say, with the arrival of Chris Knox on his tail. Knox again goes rallying out of the final corner, really runs wide through the gravel. You can see here from above, quite distinct separation now. Top 3 getting away from the next 2, Hefford and Blake, and then Holman sort of on his own in 6th place. Out of the first corner, into the final, into the final 4 minutes now of the race. Gosh, it's flown by this second race of the night. And Saunders looking for a double win, but Chris Knox will certainly not want to let him get away with a second win on the bounce, especially after the way that Rhys snatched it away from him in race 1 with that slightly questionable move up the inside down the back straight. And Chris Knox, if he gets a chance to get one over on the Year 1 driver, well, I'm sure not hesitate to make the most of that opportunity. Dan Blake, meanwhile, look, having a go at the inside of Steve Hefford in the background as, yep, here it is, look, Kyle Power, he's seen Chris Knox arrive on his tail and he's decided now is the time to attack for the race lead, but that is easier said than done. He goes to the outside of the hairpin. We've seen already how easy it is, relatively speaking, to defend that inside line through that corner, and now, look, it's Chris Knox on the attack. That failed attempt to get through for Kyle Power, lost in momentum, and so Chris Knox is able to get right on his tail. In the background, look, Dan Blake did not successfully manage to get past Steve Hefford. So Hefford still in 4th, but Power has, Power's got himself ahead of Ons. I have to say, I didn't see that happen. It must have been a good exit from the 90-degree left-handers there for Power, and he's gone ahead of Saunders after all. So Rhys Saunders then loses the lead, and Chris Knox now has sparring partner from race 1 right in front of him. Out over the curbs they go. 2.5 minutes to go. So probably just 2 more laps to go here, and 3 drivers absolutely tied together at the front of the field. Power leading, Saunders second, but Knox is up the inside of him. Knox is sideways into turn 1, and there's a bit of wheel banging. Luckily not the same sort of problem that Saunders had through there in the first race. Remember, that's almost identical contact to the one between Saunders and Hewitt in race 1 that sent Saunders through the gravel. Thankfully this time he stays on the island, but he has not been able to retain second place because Chris Knox has got the slipstream. He's got the run up the inside into the hairpin. He might even go for the race lead as well. Kyle Powers left a really inviting gap on the inside, and Chris Knox could do 2 in 1 here. He's on the inside line. He's got his nose ahead, but he hasn't quite cleared Kyle Power. And Rhys Saunders is going to make it 3 wide for the race lead. Look at this, a lap and a half to go, and the top 3 drivers are absolutely together down the back straight. It's Knox on the inside, it's Power on the outside, Rhys Saunders in the middle. Who will prevail? It's Chris Knox. Chris Knox gets the lead away. That was terrific racing, and Kyle Power will justifiably feel a bit miffed at that because he was leading a corner or 2 ago, and now he's got 2 cars in front of him, and Chris Knox is not going to want to give this race lead away to Rhys Saunders. But of course, we were in this position in the last race, weren't we? Chris Knox leading onto the final lap, Saunders in second, and even when Knox thought that he had the inside line covered down the back straight, Saunders found a way through. Surely Knox will be wise to that now, and he's going to make absolutely sure that there's no room on the white line down driver's right. That part of the circuit yet, of course, but when we do get to the back straight, that is where I think this is all going to kick off, and it may well be Kyle Power in third, who's sitting pretty. He's going to get that double slipstream. So final lap of the race begins then, 45 seconds left on the clock, and which of these 3 drivers, if any, are going to get the race win? Chris Knox moves to the inside there to try and defend. Look at them weaving around. They all want to defend, but they all want to be on the right racing line into turn 1, and you can't do the 2 things at the same time. So they weave to the inside to defend, and then as they get to the braking zone, they move back to the left of the road. And that is the kind of weaving around that can sometimes cause a bit of inadvertent contact, but they all kept it clean there. On board with Knox, looking back now at Rhys Saunders. Do you think Chris can see Rhys Saunders in his mirrors? I'm fairly sure he can. It's quite hard to miss that car, especially when it's buried underneath your rear wing. This time, though, Saunders takes the high, wide and handsome line through the hairpin. That didn't work, though. That really didn't work. He was slow through the corner, and so Kyle Power is back up the inside. Power has also got a slipstream from Chris Knox, but Knox is going to sort of box him in here, so there's nowhere for Power to go. Instead, he goes to the outside. If you can't go up the inside and you can't go down the middle, why not go to the outside of everyone? Onto the brakes, into the hairpin for the final time. Chris Knox is sideways. He makes contact. Oh, they're both out wide. Where's Kyle Power? He still hasn't got past them. I don't think Knox has survived again. It's Saunders that drops down to third with quite heavy damage to the front of the car, and he's off in the gravel. He spins into the road and nearly collects Dan Blake in the Year 1 car, the second of the Year 1 cars. His teammate that was that he nearly collected, and thankfully Dan survives in third place. Dan and Holman and Freddie Hewitt, by the way, all ahead of Steve Hefford now. This, though, is the fight for the lead. A wounded Chris Knox ahead of Kyle Power, looking for his first win of the season. Can he do it? 2 more corners to go. You can't really pass through these corners, but a good exit from the final one could give you a run to the line. I don't think Power is quite going to get there, though. Chris Knox, in dramatic fashion yet again, is going to come home with a strong position, but this time it is the race win for Chris Knox. Kyle Power comes home in second place, and it's third position in the end for Dan Blake. Holman fourth, Hewitt fifth, Hefford sixth, and Gavin Johnson will come home in seventh place. Now, where did Rhys Saunders end up? Saunders is going to end up in 11th place. He limps home there. Look at the right-hand corner, front right-hand corner damage. He's lost a few more places, hasn't he? Look, because Crosby's gone through, Constanduras, Conway, the wheel just about lasted to the finish line. Well, it really did pick a fine time to leave him, didn't it? Because 100 metres earlier, and that might have prevented him getting to the finish. But Rhys Saunders, well, I hope he can see the humour in that. He might not be able to, but let's be fair, because he was on course maybe for a race win. But, well, that is the aftermath. Here we go, look. So Knox on the inside. Well, so that time, I think Chris Knox is the one that has some answering to do, because he loses control on the inside and slides straight. He gets on the curb, look. Knox gets on that curb. It loosens the rear of the car. And, well, he couldn't have done that better if he tried, because he absolutely ruined Rhys Saunders' race. And yet he was able to continue. But, yeah, from the onboard, you could really see it. Chris Knox was super late on the brakes. The car was threatening to swap ends on him anyway. And then he hit the curb, and that was that, really. The car rotated fully, or not fully, but it kicked completely sideways. And clattered into the side, unfortunately, of the luckless Reece Saunders. Knox will probably say that was payback for race 1, but Reece might not have quite the same opinion. What did I say after race 1? It wouldn't be a PDC Racing League night without a bit of drama and controversy, and we've got another dose of it there after race 2. The good news, we get to do this all again in a few moments because the third race is not far away. Before we dive into that third race, though, let's take a look at the result from the second, and it's Chris Knox ahead of Kyle Power, the top 2, Dan Blake in third position. And then fourth place goes to James Holman, fifth Freddie Hewitt, sixth Steve Hefford, seventh Gavin Johnson, eighth Ian Crosby, ninth Ben Constant-Duras, and Jake Conway 10th is second in Division 2 because Gavin Johnson, it's worth mentioning, takes a double race victory in Division 2. Then it's Reece Saunders 11th ahead of Adam Gale, who's third in Division 2, ahead of fellow Division 2 competitors Alex Hall 13th, Kevin McGlone 14th, and Paul Warren in 15th. Cesaro Rizzo is next ahead of Matt Ragsdale and Alan Toon in 18th position. And then at the back end of the top 20, it is Dale Benison and Kip Stevens. Daniel Hunt out of luck in 21st. The same is true of Carl Jacquelet in 22nd. Martina Ward had some early contact. She was 23rd ahead of Michael Seal, another expected front runner. Ian Court likewise, and Ryan Mikulev as well. So a lot of drivers there that didn't score any points after some early contact, and they will definitely have some points to prove going into our third and final race. That was very entertaining. Again, I think there will be some talking points after that one, and hopefully we'll get a chance to discuss the main talking points with some of our podium drivers. We haven't yet got any sign of Chris Knox and Kyle Power, but we do have our third place finisher Dan Blake. So we'll do this one in reverse, shall we? Start with third place and work our way up because it is Dan Blake's first appearance on the podium tonight. Dan, welcome to the top 3. It's been a bit of a quiet night for you so far, but actually, given the amount of carnage out there, that's maybe not such a bad thing.
Get that far, Andy. It's been I've had some quite fraught racing in the first 2 races, but especially in that one with Steve Hefford. He's a very, very hard man to overtake, and we had a great ding-dong battle, and then my heart almost stopped on the last lap seeing Reece fly across the track. That was rather entertaining. Managed to avoid him and took the podium. So it's a consistent start to the night, a 4th and a 3rd. So we'll see what race 3 brings.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with Reece having his dramas there at the end, obviously not what you want from a team's perspective, but, you know, he won the first race. Obviously, you need to try and outscore these people as much as you can. This season, it seems like there are more potential challengers for the championship than we've had before, though. Would you agree with that? We've got Chris Knox, Freddie Hewitt, you've got obviously Kyle's up there, Chris again, and now Reece as well. It's going to be tough to win this one, isn't it?
Hunt as well. He's another one who's been up there in the front. But as you say, there's so many drivers who can win the championship, and the PDC Racing League just gets more competitive with every season that goes by. And it just shows there was some really good, clean, close racing there, and it really was phenomenal at times. I think me and Steve Hefford were side by side for half a lap, no touching, no anything, and it's just really clean, respectful racing, and it's a great championship to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. And it never fails to produce lots of drama. So that's why we love the PDC Racing League. Dan, congratulations on the podium. Best of luck for race 3. Hopefully we'll get to chat again later on tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Also, thank you to my sponsors, Year One Custom Flip Flop, and also to my friends and family watching as well, my parents and Roxy. So thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicely done. Dan Blake then, third place in race number 2 of the night. No sign of Kyle Power, but we do have Chris Knox, so we'll drag in our race winner. Well, Chris, you were denied the win in the first race on the road, at least. You weren't letting Reece take that one away from you, though, were you?
No, yeah, a bit of a strange move, trying to go around the outside of a hairpin, but hey-ho, fair play for trying. But yeah, happy enough, came from P10, 12, something like that. A little bit of damage at the start, which I thought would hamper the progress, but as soon as you get in the toe of the guys in front, it just sucks you in, really.
Yeah, exactly, which we love because it produces good close racing. But yeah, I'm sure it can be a little bit stressful out there. I mean, what was your view of that final lap? We've got to talk about it. Obviously, Reece tried the outside. It looked like maybe you just caught the curb and lost the rear of the car. Is that what happened?
I mean, I was sort of got a little bit loose mid-corner, but I mean, I'm on the inside line on a hairpin, so I have a right to be there. But yeah, I'd say that was an RI, really. Not really much else I could do.
Well, either way, you came out of it okay. You've had a win now and a second place. So I suppose, in a way, you can maybe go into this third place a little bit more relaxed.
No, full send.
I'm sure that's music to the ears of everyone else out there.
It's got to be done.
You go
Thursday
then.
night skippies.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We'll have our cameras trained on you at the start of this race then, especially if you're deep in the field, Chris. Congratulations. Really solid night so far.
Yeah, cheers. No doubt I'll be like P26 or something.
I'm not going to lie,
Cheers,
I kind
guys.
of hope so. I'm looking forward to seeing Chris charge through the field. Right then, that is all we have time for race number 2. Don't go anywhere though, because the third and final race is on its way. Another fully random grid. As I say, I've kind of got my fingers crossed that we'll have some quick drivers right at the back. People like Chris Knox trying to fight their way through to the front. Join us in a few minutes to see what happens. PDC Racing League is back in action once again here for Season 6, and it's the third and final race of Night 1 of racing here from the Okayama circuit in Japan. 4 weeks of racing, triple headers at each round. And the first two races tonight have both been absolute thrillers. Rhys Saunders beating Chris Knox to victory in race 1, before Chris Knox well and truly got his own back in race 2, and last lap contact between the pair saw Knox get the win ahead of Kyle Power and Dan Blake, with Rhys Saunders dropping outside the top 10. So it's all getting a bit spicy, and we've got another 20 minutes of racing still to go, with 30 seconds up very, very shortly. A number of former race winners, indeed former champions, on the grid for this season of racing, as we continue to attract some top quality drivers. And we've got indeed all of our former champions. Dan Blake, double champion seasons 1 and 3. Freddie Hewitt, season 2 champion on the grid, although he's been a bit out of luck tonight. And Chris Knox, with a win and a second place, season 4 champion, is looking to try and add another championship to his tally over the next few weeks. Free practice session then is complete, and we now wait to see where everyone gets gridded. It's completely random, remember, and it is Steve Hefford. There we go. It's just updated. So Steve Hefford on pole position. Another good grid slot for him, ahead of Kyle Power. Another good grid slot for him too. Then it's James Holman and Rhys Saunders. Likewise, he's done quite well out of these random grids. Daniel Hunt is next, ahead of Kip Stevens. Cesare Rizzo is on row 4, ahead of the top Division 2 driver, Jake Conway. Dan Blake and Chris Knox share the 5th row, ahead of Matthew Ragsdale and Ryan Micallef, hopefully, who will survive the first lap this time. Gavin Johnson is 13th. He's been moved up into Division 1 because he was certainly outperforming the rest of Division 2 quite comfortably. Michael Seal, therefore, is alongside him and now in the same class. Adam Gale and Carl Giacoletta next on row number 8. Then it's Kevin McGlone and Ian Crosby, with Dale Bennison and Ben Constanduris. Martina Ward is next, with Freddie Hewitt down on the 11th row. He really has suffered from these reversed grids. Ian Court and Alex Haller on the 12th row, and row 13 right at the back sees Paul Warren and Alan Toome. So another 20-minute race then. The red lights are coming on. We're about ready to go racing, with Steve Hefford for the second race in a row drawing pole position. And yet again, he's got Kyle Power up there to challenge him through the first few corners. Lights go out. We're away and racing. And James Holman there, does not go anywhere. Oh, yes, they all miss him, but that was very, very tight. Dan Blake nearly hit him. I think one of the PDC cars, Gavin Johnson, almost got into him as well. But thankfully, they avoid contact. And it's wheel to wheel for the race lead through the first corner. Hefford versus Power. Hefford, the black and red Momo car on the inside, Kyle Power on the outside. Privateer is Kyle Power, but he still wants to try and score good points for the Drivers' Championship. He doesn't have to worry too much about teams' points. And then Rhys Saunders, who have been ever present at the front of the field, but is yet to have a controversy-free race. Steve Hefford way too wide into the hairpin, hands the lead on a silver platter to Kyle Power, and Power it is then that heads out of the hairpin with the lead of the race. Now further back, Chris Knox, I believe, has just been off the road. Yes, he's lost 4 positions from his starting place. Started 10th. He's 14th going on to the back straight. So Chris Knox in trouble at the head of the field, though, side by side. Rhys Saunders on the outside of Kyle Power. Daniel Hunt is in the mix as well. Remember, early contact in the previous race took him out of contention. He certainly has not had the results he would have hoped for tonight, despite being on the pace in all 3 races. Remember, he was 3rd in race 1, was Daniel Hunt, but ended up all the way down in 21st place for race number 2. It's Power then that leads the way. It's Rhys Saunders 2nd, 3rd place for Hefford, 4th is Daniel Hunt, 5th position is, I think, Cesare Rizzo, just ahead of Dan Blake, but Blake is at the inside of him there in the back of shop. That's for 5th position. The light blue car, by the way, is Kip Stevens, who started 6th on this reverse grid. First time, really, we've seen Kip towards the sharp end tonight, just behind his old pal Dan Blake. And then Ryan Micallef, who had a disaster in the previous race, losing control on lap 1. Oh, and he doesn't get to the end of the first lap this time either, because that was contact with Carl Giacoletta, I think, wasn't it, in the second of the Year 1 TV cars. Well, hang on. Wasn't Micallef running? Yes, that's his teammate. Never mind. Moving swiftly on. Ryan Micallef in the pit lane. Was it? No, I take it back. It's not going to be Giacoletta, is it? It's going to be Michael Seal, I think, that gets him. Contact's already happened. Yeah, it was Michael Seal. Okay, apologies to Jacqueline. I saw Jacqueline was involved in that he had to go off the road to avoid, but thankfully the Year 1 TV drivers did not get into each other. Graham heaves a big sigh of relief in my ears as he realises he doesn't have that particular team dispute to solve after the race. He does have one of his cars in the lead, though. It is great Rhys Saunders that leads the way with Power in second. I believe Carl Jacqueline is now off the road, but in, I'm sure, an entirely separate incident. Yes, there he is. Carl Jacqueline spins all the way down to 24th position down at the hairpin, and this is going to be... It's not going to be Michael Seal again, is it? It's certainly going to be one of those Fast R cars. It is the 61 car. 61 is Michael Seal. Michael Seal, I don't think, is invited to the Year 1 Christmas party this year, because that's 2 of their cars that he's managed to bin off in half a lap. And that one looked fairly conclusive, didn't he? He got into the back of Jacqueline, and unfortunately Jacqueline comes out of it worse. Right, more contact, and that's Saunders again involved with Steve Hefford this time, and other cars scatter to avoid, and there's more contact as he rejoins. That was Gale, I think, was it, that Saunders... oh no, it was Hewitt, excuse me, Hewitt around the outside, but no, it was the white car. It was Gale that ran into the back of the recovering Rhys Saunders, and Saunders heads for the pit lane. Well, it's a case of what could have been for Rhys. Now let's see a replay. So he's fighting for second here with Steve Hefford. They're going down this short straight into the tight left-hander. It's a hairpin left. Hefford on the inside, locks a brake, careers into the side of him. Now, did Hefford then get collected by Daniel Hunt? I think he might have been. We're right on board with the instigator in all of that. Steve Hefford, you can see, locks the wheels, turns left and doesn't go anywhere. And yeah, just a glancing blow there from Daniel Hunt. That's Dan Blake emerging from stage left there as he had to take to the grass to avoid. And out of the pit lane comes a rather frustrated Rhys Saunders, you'd imagine. Right, what does that leave us with the order? It's Kyle Power leading, Hunt in second, Rizzo third, except he runs very, very wide, and so Dan Blake is now third, going through, and there isn't room there for Kip Stevens, except maybe there is. It goes between Steve Hefford and Cesare Rizzo. That was a real breathe in and hope for the best moment there for Kip Stevens, and it actually has kind of worked out for him because he's not only got fifth, but he might be fourth here ahead of Steve Hefford. Blake, I think, will get third out of all of this. But yeah, around the outside goes Kip Stevens. This is a really good showing. Kip Stevens in the previous races, well, he was a lap down after contact in race 1. Race 2, he was... similar story, actually. Not quite a lap down, but he was 20th place after some dramas early on. So for Kip Stevens, some valuable points on offer here. If he can fend off Steve Hefford, Hefford on the outside, Stevens on the inside. This is where Hefford had that contact a lap ago. Doesn't seem to have affected the Momo car, though, does it? Because Kip Stevens is struggling to get the better of Steve Hefford here. And Hefford, I think, with the inside line into the next corner, should take the place. He gets the curb. Yeah, he does indeed go through. So out onto the pit straight they go again, and the top 2 have really made hay whilst all that was going on, haven't they? Kyle Power and Daniel Hunt, there they are. Look, Hunt with the fastest lap. So again, that contact he had with Hefford clearly hasn't slowed him down too much. Power the leader then, Hunt second, Blake third, Hefford fourth, Stevens fifth, Rizzo sixth, ahead of Hewitt seventh. Not bad, actually, from wherever he started. Freddie Hewitt has gained 15 positions, and off goes Dale Bennison. That is at turn 1, isn't it, Dale Bennison? I think there's damage to the right-hand side of that car. So Dale Bennison then is rejoining, but I think he might have to limp to the pit lane for repairs after that. Didn't quite see there how that started. But, Dale Bennison, there's damage here to the 45 car of Ben Constantindura, so I don't know whether that was anything to do with it, but Ben's had a fairly solid... night, actually, hasn't he? He was just outside the top 10 in race 1 and just inside it, 9th place in race 2. And further back, look, you can see Jake Conway is leading in Division 2. How's Gavin Johnson getting on in this race? Gavin Johnson, having moved up into Division 1, well, not too well is the answer. I think he might have been in the pits for repairs because he is down in 25th, and yes, he has made a pit stop, so maybe regretting that choice now to move into Division 1. Because, mind you, I suppose he wasn't going to score many points in either division, was he, after his early dramas in this race? But still, been a decent showing this from Gavin. I seem to remember him going well here at Okayama the last time that the PDC Racing League raced here. Replay here with Freddie Hewitt involved, I believe. This is amongst the front runners. Hewitt is behind Kip Stevens. Oh dear, and he gets elbowed out of the way by Cesare Rizzo. That was Rizzo in the 47 car. Damage now to the back of Hewitt's car. So, oh dear. And more contact, 2 bits of contact with Chris Knox. So Knox has had his fair share of contact tonight, hasn't he? And of course, he's trying to recover after that slightly iffy first lap and comes across the recovering Freddie Hewitt. And that will not go down too well at all. All going on here, isn't it? There is Chris Knox then, 10th position. He's still racing with Freddie Hewitt, Knox, and despite all that wing on his car, which won't be helping the downforce, but it will probably aid his straight line speed. He's going to need all that straight line. Right, apologies for that, everyone. I think I'm back now. I think there was a slight technical glitch there with our Discord system, but I think you can hear me again now. So hopefully I haven't missed too much. It looks like, well, we've had a change for the lead. Carl Power led by Daniel Hunt, 2 of them still absolutely together out at the front of the field. This is still the battle, isn't it, really? Steve Hefford in 3rd, Dan Blake 4th, and Kip Stevens having a really, really strong run here in 5th position. And then Ben Collins-Duras in the background, dicing away with Michael Seal, also running well in 6th position. Kip Stevens goes from the outside to the inside, even though he wasn't really close enough there to get past either of the cars in front. Mind you, the way that Steve Hefford's been going in this race, maybe staying out of this is the best thing Kip Stevens could do, because Hefford has already managed to dispose of 1 or 2 of our expected front runners, but not to take anything away from Steve either. He's had a pretty solid night pace-wise, but just a couple of moments. Having another go here at the inside of Dan Blake now into the same corner they had that contact earlier on, and they're both a bit out of control there as they turn into the tight left-hander. Has Hefford gone through? Well, sort of, but then, as we've seen so many times, the road goes back to the right here through the final sector, and so Dan Blake should have the advantage into the penultimate corner. Dan Blake, Steve Hefford, wheel to wheel. Kip Stevens wondering which way he should go to try and benefit the most out of this. Blake is sideways through the last corner. Brilliant racing there, really respectful. This is what Dan was saying to us after race number 2, isn't it? That the racing is super close, but generally speaking, it's really clean, and the drivers really do go out of their way to try and avoid making contact with each other, and that's certainly what we saw from Dan and Steve there. It's Hefford somehow, despite being on the outside line for the whole final sector, that's got himself back through as well. So Hefford back into 3rd, Blake 4th, but he'll actually be quite happy with that, because in this race, lots of the drivers that have been scoring heavily tonight are struggling. Chris Knox is down in 8th position. Rhys Saunders obviously is recovering. He's 13th at the moment, but that is 11th in class. As Blake now tries to get that 3rd place back away from Steve Hefford. He's got a good run here out of the hairpin, but the momentum is with the driver on the outside line. We've seen this time and time again, haven't we, where you've got 3 cars together, 2 cars running side by side. The 3rd place car often is the one with the big run, and this time Kip Stevens is left a really nice gap up the middle, but the court door is closing. Oh, Blake was moving to the left and Hefford was moving to the right. They were both threatening to sandwich Kip Stevens there, but Stevens has backed out of it sensibly, and Blake retains his 3rd position. Into the second half of this race now then. 13 minutes and 40 seconds have elapsed, and it's still Hunt that leads the way, Power in 2nd place. I don't think that's going to change for some time. They're probably going to just keep working together, because they are nearly 9 seconds ahead of Blake and Hefford. We've really not seen this all night, have we, where 2 cars have been able to pull a gap on the rest of the field, but just because of some of the chaos that we had in that sort of the middle of the top 10 in the early stages of this race, it's just allowed these 2 to get their heads down, and Daniel Hunt and Kyle Power working well together here in 1st and 2nd places respectively. I don't think there's much that Blake, Hefford and Stevens can do to catch them, even if they were to stop battling amongst themselves for 3rd. They ain't going to catch an 8.5 second gap to the top 2 unless these 2 really start holding each other up in the closing stages, but they'd have to really be going some to lose what is now a 9 second cushion to the 3rd place cars. Right, looking a bit deeper in the field, Matt Ragsdale we're following here in the number 55 car, and Ragsdale is just been overtaken by Rhys Saunders, but that's Saunders in a Division 1 in Division 1, and Matt Ragsdale in Division 2. Ragsdale is 2nd in Division 2, and actually within a second or so of Alex Hall. Alex is leading in Division 2, and that is good news for Alex, because he's another veteran of the PDC Racing League, and it would be nice to see him bring home a class victory if at all possible. How's he been doing so far tonight? Well, Alex Hall, 11th place at the moment. In the first race of the night, Hall was, I think, a non-finisher, because Alex Hall was a non-finisher in the first race, and then race number 2, So, sorry, everyone, I think you just lost me again there. Discord, not my friend in this 3rd race. If you could just hang on for another 3.5 minutes, that would be lovely, because I don't really want to miss the end of this race. It's boiling up quite nicely at the head of not only Division 2, but also Division 1. We were just seeing that Division 2 battle between Hall, Ragsdale and Court starting to close up. In Division 1 here, this is the fight still for 3rd position. Steve Hefford, Dan Blake and Kip Stevens, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Kip Stevens is sort of snapping at their heels like some sort of angry terrier, isn't he? But he's not really been able to do much with these 2. He can draw alongside Dan Blake down this back straight, but he can never really actually get ahead of the Year 1 driver. See if he can do something this time into the braking zone. through the right-hander again, right round the outside and into the left-hander. And Dan Blake has got past Steve Hepburn. That was nicely done. So Dan Blake then gains another place, gets himself into the third position. That's where he finished the previous race. But with the various dramas for people like Knox and Saunders in this race, Dan Blake could come out of this looking pretty good with the points. Remember, you head over to the PDC Racing League website and their social media pages. They will be posting updates about results and championship standings after the fact. So if you want to get a fully updated championship points table, that is the place to go. And I reckon when you do go there, if things stay as they are now, Dan Blake may be the name that you see right at the top of it. Although Rhys Saunders is starting now to pick them off, isn't he? He's into 9th place now, although he's 7.5 seconds or so behind Chris Knox. I'm not sure he's going to get any further. There is Saunders, look, around the outside of Freddie Hewitt, who's just not been, well, I'm not going to say he's not been on the pace, but he's had contact in all 3 races, I think, hasn't he? But just not quite been the same sort of electrifying performance that we've seen in the past from Hewitt in this one. As they come across the line, Saunders sets another fastest lap, 1:44.34. Excuse me, that was on the last lap. This time, of course, he's slower because he's having to defend now from Freddie Hewitt in his newly acquired 9th position. So Hewitt trying his best here to work his way back ahead of what he knows will be one of his championship rivals. He's right up the curb trying to do it, and Ian Crosby sees a chance to draw alongside as well. Putting the inside line on Hewitt going down the hill. And don't forget, this is all happening right in front of the Division 2 battle. It's still Alex Hall ahead of Matt Ragsdale and Ian Court, but they are the next 3 cars behind. And because of the Division 1 drivers starting to fall over each other, they're actually closing in, which is probably the last thing that Alex Hall and Matt Ragsdale want. They'd rather just have a nice private battle between themselves, but that's not a luxury that they can enjoy right now. Down the hill then, towards the braking zone again at the bottom of the hill, and yeah, that was nicely done there. So through goes through stays, I should say, Hewitt ahead of Ian Crosby, get it right. So Ian Crosby in 11th position there. Daniel Hunt, though, the race leader, and we're going on to the final lap of the race. This lead battle hasn't quite ignited in the way that I thought it might. I think Daniel Hunt probably just has the pace here over Kyle Power. Just about the last time that I cut away from the broadcast, I was about to say that the gap had shot up between these two from a couple of tenths to 6 or 7 tenths, and it's kind of where it stayed. So that does suggest that Kyle Power had a moment somewhere, lost a bit of ground, because on that lap, look, they were almost identical, weren't they? Daniel Hunt only 1/100th of a second quicker than Kyle Power. So Power is clearly capable of matching Dan Hunt, but having lost the ground, isn't really able to reel him back in. But it's the last lap, and I'm sure that Kyle is going to try everything he can here. He too would quite like to score some nice points out of this race. Daniel Hunt will feel that he should have scored much better out of tonight, but that contact in race 2 has sort of hurt his early points haul. This was the time to bounce back, though, while some others were hitting difficulties and hitting each other, indeed. This was maybe the chance for Dan Hunt to come through and take some good points, but he is being caught again here by Kyle Power. Importantly, though, he survived the best overtaking opportunity on the track, that long drag down the back straight and into the hairpin. So Hunt will be able to rest a little bit easier now, because that was really the last of the genuine overtaking opportunities. This, I suppose, is the last of the possible overtaking opportunities into the hairpin, but again, Power not close enough. So Daniel Hunt looks as though he is going to make it 3 different winners from the first 3 races of the night. Rhys Saunders won the first one, although I believe that is probably under review after his off-track overtake on the final lap against Chris Knox. Knox fought back and won the second race, but in race 3, neither of them have been a factor after early contact for the pair of them. It is Daniel Hunt who comes through to pick up the pieces and wins round number 3 of the PDC Racing League here from Okayama, and a nice way to bounce back from a disappointing second race. Kyle Power is second place, and Dan Blake, is he going to hang on to third place? Steve Hefford is trying to beat him to the line, but no, Dan Blake is just going to get there and holds on, put only by the most slender of margins there, only by 100th of a second or so over Steve Hefford in 4th. Michael Seal with his best result of the night in 5th. Ben Constant-Juris, big shout out to him in 6th as well. Kip Stevens 7th ahead of Chris Knox, a disappointed 8th. Rhys Saunders likewise 9th, and 10th for Freddie Hewitt, whilst Alex Hall hangs on to take the Division 2 victory. Nicely done there from Alex Hall, with Ian Crosby behind him in Division 1. Matt Ragsdale was second in Division 2, and Ian Court on the class podium. So some new names at the top of both of the classes there. And remember, with the 2 class championships to be awarded this year, all of those results are significant. Dan Blake there, happy with 2 third places, I would think. And it was a decent first race, was it not? 2 thirds and a 4th for Dan Blake means that the double former champion will more than likely come out of tonight, if not with the championship lead, certainly very close to it. And I think that the year 1 driver will be pretty happy with how his evening has gone. So the last few stragglers just coming through. Once they have all crossed the start-finish line, we'll be able to run you through the provisional result there from the 3rd and final race of the night. Don't go anywhere, though, because we're going to go and try and have a chat with the podium finishers in a moment or two. Here, though, is the result. Daniel Hunt wins the race with Kyle Power for the Missed Apex podcast team in 2nd. Dan Blake for Year 1 Racing is 3rd, ahead of Steve Hefford and Michael Seal. So that's 5 different teams inside the top 5, although Hunt, I suppose, is a privateer. So too is Ben Constanduris in 6th and Kip Stevens in 7th, ahead of Chris Knox in 8th, Rhys Saunders 9th, and Freddie Hewitt in 10th. Alex Hall was next, 11th overall, but wins in Division 2, ahead of Ian Crosby. Matt Ragsdale and Ian Court will join Alex Hall on the Division 2 podium. Carl Jackalette was 15th, Jake Conway was 16th, Martina Ward 17th, and James Holman in 18th position. And just at the back end of the top 20, we've got Kevin McGlone 19th, Dale Bennison 20th, Gavin Johnson after early contact was only 21st, Adam Gale, Alan Toon, Cesare Rizzo, Paul Warren and Ryan Mikulev round out the finishers, although Mikulev was not running at the end. He was 9 laps down. So that is it then for the racing tonight in the PDC Racing League. A reminder, though, that we'll be back here same time, same place for the next 3 successive weeks. So be sure to join us for the next 3 Thursday evenings, see how this championship battle continues to progress, because there is every chance that we could get to the final round with another final round decided. We've had it pretty much every time the championship's gone down to at least the final few races, maybe the absolute last race of the season. I reckon that might well happen again. One of the drivers who is likely to be in that championship discussion, I'd say, certainly if tonight's results are anything to go by, is our 3rd place finisher from that race, Dan Blake. And Dan is waiting to have a chat with us now. And here he is then, Dan. I think that's what you can call a pretty solid night's work, isn't it? A 4th place in race 1, 3rd in races 2 and 3. If you're not in the lead of the championship, you're certainly going to be right up there.
I've got to say that was the hardest podium I've had to fight for in my 9 years on iRacing. Me and Steve Efford had a fantastic battle all the way through that. But as you say, a fantastic night for me in terms of the racing. And I don't know what the podiums do look like in terms of the championship, but it's always good to get a championship campaign off to a good start. I stayed out of trouble. Maybe not been the fastest one out there, but 2 podiums and a 4th, I was taking that before the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it means to win a championship. You know how to win this championship. You've done it twice before. You've got to score consistent points, especially when others are having difficulties. And obviously, Chris had contact in that race. So did Rhys. Freddie's had a bit of an off night as well. So that definitely puts you in a good position now, doesn't it, heading to week 2?
But they'll all be back and everyone will be putting the practice in, and we don't even know where the track is for week 2 yet. But as I say, it's a good start to the season, and I just got to try and build on it, really. I learnt from Okayama last time when I had the incident with Carl Power on the last lap. I'm trying to be a bit more sort of reserved at the start of the season this time, and it seemed to have worked out all right for me. I had a great battle with Hefford there. As I say, probably the hardest podium I've had in my time on iRacing, but managed to just about get it through. Kip was being annoying as usual on my rear bumper, on the rear wing, trying to get himself involved as well. And it was just all about defence attack. A fantastic race. And yeah, as I say, a great start to the season. And let's see what happens next week.
Looking forward to it, Dan. Congratulations on not only this, but also your result in the Formula 4 iRacing trophy earlier on in the week. It's been a good week for Year 1 Racing and Dan Blake. And Dan, I'm sure we'll be hoping for another one next week as well.
Thank you very much to the broadcast as ever, and enjoy.
Stuff. So Dan Blake then pops in for a chat. I think he might be the only one that's going to do so, though. We didn't hear from Dan Hunt after his earlier podium, and I don't seem to recall chatting to Kyle Power too much in the recent past either. So I think that might be all we have time for then here from Akayama. All that remains then for me to say is thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the racing. I'm sure you have. Join us again next Thursday evening, same time, same place, for more of the same great racing. And as Dan Blake was alluding to there, we don't know what track we'll be racing at. The drivers vote on the tracks on a week-by-week basis. There'll always be a free track, but they will have a selection to choose from. So we'll wait with eagerness to see which one they go for. Whichever one it is, I'm sure we'll have some really good racing, as we always do. Thanks to Graham Sessford at Year One TV as well for putting the broadcast together. Apologies for a couple of technical issues we were having with Discord earlier on. Hopefully we'll get them sorted before next week as well. Head over to the Year One Racing, Year One TV website and social media pages. They've got some interesting broadcasts coming up over the next few weeks as well. But that, I think, is all we have time for. Thank you for joining us here at Okayama. We'll see you again next week.